everyone! So in this video we will jump straight into the vowel rules of Sanskrit and Hindi. It'll all be done, the vowels will be completely done in this video because Sanskrit and Hindi are very similar, and also the rules are not very complex at all. So yeah, we'll look at these rules, some example words, some exceptions to the rules, because each rule has a couple of exceptions, and I know those are really hard if you get one of those words, but it's important to learn what the main rule is and understand that there could be some exceptions. So yeah, without further ado, we can jump right into our vowels. So we'll start with the letter A. Alright, so within A we have a couple of sounds we're going to cover. The first one is our A with two dots, and by now you should know that is pronounced ah. Ah, and this is actually a pretty common sound in both Hindi and Sanskrit. A lot of words have it. So yeah, the main rule though is it's mainly going to be spelled one way, and that's just with a single A. Okay, so that's very common. And for Sanskrit especially, about 99% of the time, if not all the time, it's going to be A regardless. For Hindi, because Hindi actually got a lot of its words from Persian and Urdu, it's still going to be mostly an A, but sometimes for Hindi it can be an AH at the end. So sometimes, and again we'll look at some word. So sometimes an AH at the end. So if it's in the middle of the word, you're pretty much guaranteed it's going to be an A. If it's at the end and it's from Hindi, you might have to, think about it to see if it's an AH. It probably will be, because if it's just an A at the end for Hindi, it might be pronounced as a schwa. So something to look out for. Also in Hindi, it's also rarely going to be an O. So rarely an O. There's probably like 5 words. Or 3 words, I don't even know. It's very rare. So, that's definitely the way to spell it if you know the word. If not, you're good with just an A. Hindi, sometimes the end has an AH. Okay? So let's look at some examples with these rules. A Sanskrit word with A is Nataka. You hear the A, Nataka, Nataka. Like I said, the letter A is actually very common in Sanskrit and Hindi. So you see that 3 times here, and right here is your ah sound, Nataka. The AH at the end in Hindi, an example is Padishah, Padishah, Padishah. You can see if it was just an A, it would probably be pronounced Padishah, with the schwa, but because of the H, it's Padishah. So again, that's something to look out for. Sometimes AH at the end of Hindi words. A very rare rule, again, is the O, and an example of that is nabob. Nabob. You can see it right here. Sometimes it might help to visualize the word. If there was a letter A there, it might be nabab, or it could be nabob, but the O looks perfectly fine there. So yeah, you might have to rely on your Sprachgefühl, your speller intuition. And that's a German word, by the way, Sprachgefühl. Let's put it up here because it's a good spelling word. Gefühl in German means feeling. So yeah, this is like your speller intuition. But yeah, that's not really relevant to Sanskrit, but it's a good word to know. Okay? So that is our ah sound in German, or not in German, sorry, in Hindi and Sanskrit. Okay, so not too bad. There's one more sound I'll do for A. Really the ah sound, which is just the plain A sound, it's not really present in these words. I mean, if it shows up, then certainly just use the letter A. But I don't think I've really seen that being used. Okay. So the next sound we're going to talk about instead of that is the long A sound, the A with the line over it, and this is pronounced A. It says its own name, A. First of all, you're not really going to hear this sound in Sanskrit. This sound is very rare, as opposed to the last one. So yeah, it's not really in Sanskrit words. The abbreviation for Sanskrit is SKT. So not in Sanskrit. It's also rare in Hindi, so you're not going to run into it too often. Rare in Hindi. But if you do, spell it with an E. Just an E. And again, I think there's only like 2 words that have this. So yeah, one of them is Chena. Chena, and you have it right here. So again, you're not going to run into this sound very often at all. If you do, in Hindi, you'll be safe with an E, probably. Alright? So that is A for us. And actually, we're done with the letter A. Pretty simple. And now we're going to move on to the E. Oops, I forgot a spot. Okay, E. And the first sound we're going to cover in E is our long E sound. E with a line over it. Again, this is pronounced E. And again, this is a very common sound in both Hindi and Sanskrit. And there's a main way to spell it. It's going to be an I, especially in Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, almost all the time, it's going to be an I. The same goes for Hindi, except Hindi has a little bit of an exception. Hindi, it's also mostly going to be an I, 90% of the time, also an I. Some words have EE at the end, and there's 2 words that have Ys at the end, and we'll go through all of these. So some words have EE at the end for this E sound. Have EE at the end. And then, like I said, 2 words have Ys, and we'll go through these exceptions because there's so few of them. So yeah, let's just get into that real fast. First of all, Sanskrit example would be Maharishi, M-A-H-A. See our A's there for the A sound, Maha, which we've covered, and Rishi. Very simple, the 2 I's there. And then we covered these in the last rule, Maharishi. In Hindi, example is Lassi, which is a nice drink. Lassi, you have it right there. And here are the exceptions to these rules. Okay, so there's 3 words with EE at the end. Let's put them up here, actually. First one is putti, P-U-T-T-E-E. Katani, Katni, C-U-T-T-A-N-E-E. And thuggy, T-H-U-G-G-E-E. And then 2 words that have Ys, Sarangusti, S-A-R-A-N-G-O-U-S-T-Y, there's a Y, and dingy, D-I-N-G-H-Y. So feel free to look up these words and learn them, memorize these ones. These are the ones that don't follow this rule. And, other than these 5 words, mostly all your E sounds in both Sanskrit and Hindi are going to be spelled with the letter I. Okay? So that is it for the long E sound. Very simple again. And now we're going to go to the short E sound, which is, again, very rare in words from Hindi and Sanskrit origin. It's definitely not as common as the long E sound, but we'll take a look at it. So this sound is the short E sound, just an E. It's pronounced eh, like egg. And like I've said already, it's rare in both these languages, but you're just going to spell it how it sounds with the letter E if you ever run into it for both. An example of this rule is Mem Sahib, M-E-M-S-A-H-I-B. And then here you have the E for the eh, mem, in that word, Mem Sahib. So yeah, this is, again, very rare. You're not going to run into this too often. So we are done with the letter E. On to our next vowel, the I. Alright, now the first sound we're going to look at in the I is the long I sound. So this is I with a line over it, and this is pronounced I. It says its own name, and yeah, just in both Sanskrit and Hindi, just really one way to spell it. Mostly it's going to be A-I, mostly. Occasionally there will be other words that, have another spelling, but those are probably passed through some other language, and they use the rules of that other language. So if you don't hear that, you're going to be safe with an AI. Example word, first one would be Raita, R-A-I-T-A, right there. Also the word Bhai, it's, in Hindi it's actually pronounced Bhai, B-H-A-I, it means brother, but, in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it's the pronunciation, the diacritic is like this, something like B A with two dots and a long E. So it's like ba-E. So it's not really I, but it sounds like it ba-E. So, but this one is also going to use the AI. So yeah, if you ever run into this, then yeah, the I sound, you'll be safe with an AI, like Raita. So that's another clean rule for I. So this is a long I, and now we can do short I. It's funny because the short sounds, short vowels are very rare actually from what I've seen so far in Hindi. So again, this is just an I. It's pronounced I, as in kitten, and our rule is very simple. If you ever run into this, it's going to be spelled with an I. And that's pretty much it. Just spelled with an I for both Hindi and Sanskrit. Again, this is not a common sound at all. Example word would be tilak. T-I-L-A-K. Tilak. So our I, there's the I sound. Again, not common, but you know, you're going to be sure on this word if you ever run into it. Okay? Alright, it's good that we can go through this fast because it's not too difficult, I hope. So that concludes I for us, and now we're going to do the O. Big O. And of course, there's only one sound we're going to cover in O because it's the only one that's prevalent, and it's the long O sound. So the O saying its own name, so it's pronounced O, and you've probably guessed it's really easy, only one way to spell it, the letter O. Okay, so there's 3 O's on the screen, but yeah, that's, you know, should remind you how easy this is. It's always going to be an O. An example is samosa, which is another good food. You should check it out. So samosa, the O is the O sound is spelled with an O. And again, this is going to be very common. Okay, that's O for us. Now we're going to get into a little complex letter or vowel. It is the letter U, and usually it's, you know, a lot of languages don't really have much rules regarding the U sound, but Sanskrit and Hindi do. So let's take this step by step. The first sound we're going to look at is the U with 2 dots. Now this is the U sound, okay, the U sound. In Sanskrit, if it comes from Sanskrit, then it's almost always going to be spelled with a U. Okay? If it comes from Hindi, put it up here, same thing. It's mostly going to be spelled with a U, but rarely it can be an OO. Because with Hindi's always got those rare things to look out for. It follows Sanskrit, because Sanskrit is very pure and, you know, it didn't really have other ways to spell things, but Hindi, you know, uses words from other languages, so there's always those rare ways to spell certain sounds. So rarely it's going to be a double O for the U sound. Okay, so let's get into some examples. Okay, now here's a word that is a great spelling word. I just have a really hard time pronouncing it. It's from Sanskrit. I'll try my best. Let me write the word down first. B-H-U-T-A-T-A-T-A. Oh gosh. Buddha-da-tata. Buddha-da-tata. Here, I can bring it up on my dictionary so you can see the proper pronunciation. Oh, 1 second. We spelled this wrong. I knew it wasn't 3 THs and TAs in a row. So, sorry. We'll start all over again. Just to be clear. B-H-U-T-A-T-A-T-H-A-T-A. Buddha-da-tata. And here it is, right here. Buddha-da-tata. There, I think I got it right. So for this word, you know, you're probably best off breaking it into parts. Boo. Here, you lost the T there. The boo, tata, tha, ta. Okay, so it's pronounced Buddha-da-tata. And regardless of all these T's and THs, the U is what we're focused on actually. This is spelled with, the U sound is spelled with the letter U. But yeah, it's a good word in case you ever get it, just to keep that straight. Buddha-da-ta-ta. Alright, so that, I know that's a little tricky and Yeah, it's kind of confusing because I confused the ending. I haven't seen this word in a long time. So yeah, it's good to remember this one. Alright, so that's definitely keep that up there. Hindi, let's go on to some easier words. With the U, first is Suba, S-U-B-A-H. We have our U there for the U sound. Remember the first rule, we said if you hear the A at the end of the word in Hindi, sometimes you'll end with an AH, just for Hindi. So that's another perfect example of that for Hindi. And yeah, with an OO, it's rare. One word is Puri, P-O-O-R-I. Okay? So yeah, try to learn this page, breaking up into Sanskrit and Hindi. Sanskrit, very simple. It's just going to be a U, even in these monstrous words. And Hindi, mostly U, so all the time, and rarely OO. You'll have to know it for that one. Okay? So yeah, definitely watch this word, Buddha the Tata. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so that's the U with 2 dots, and now we're going to move on to the U with 1 dot, pronounced like the word good. You know, we don't say good, we say good, so it's that sound. It's like food versus good. That's like the pronunciation difference. So this one is U with 1 dot, pronounced as in good, and thankfully there's only one way to spell it in both languages. It's going to be just a U. Very simple, as in the word Rangpur. Rangpur. The sound. So you have our U there, Rangpur. Okay? So that's the conclusion of the U in Sanskrit and Hindi. Okay? Now we're not done yet. The last vowel sound we always have to cover is the schwa sound, which I'll draw up here. Schwa sound, the upside down E, the sticky spot for spellers. This is pronounced usually it can be spelled many ways with any vowel, but thankfully this is a big hint into Hindi and Sanskrit. If you remember, in Latin, our big secret was that the schwa as a combining form is usually spelled with an I. We learned in Greek that the schwa as a combining is spelled with an O. For Hindi and Sanskrit, and most of the other Asian languages we'll encounter, the secret is that it's mostly going to be an A. Mostly an A. That's a big secret of Sanskrit, Hindi, Persian, Urdu, Japanese, Chinese, Tagalog, all these languages. A is very common for the schwa, okay? Especially at the end. If it's at the end, you can almost be guaranteed it's going to be an A. So especially at the end. Okay? That's not to say there aren't any exceptions. There are a couple, and we'll look at that real fast. You know, if you don't know, if it's not an A, it's really hard to predict what else it could be. There's some words with AHs at the end that have the schwa, and these are mostly from Hindi. Some words have AH at the end for the sound. Like I said, especially at the end, it's mostly going to be an A. You just need to know the couple that have AH. Sometimes they have alternate pronunciations that will give it away to you that it is an AH. So yeah. Otherwise, if it's not one of these two, you kind of have to know Persian, which is a little bit different than Hindi and Sanskrit. I don't think we'll cover it because, you know, literally it's almost the same thing as Hindi and Sanskrit, and not many words. But Persian might have some other letters. You know, they sometimes use U or E, and, you know, Hindi and Sanskrit don't have those common Greek and Latin roots. So, you know, there's no surefire way to know which letter is the schwa if it's not an A. And, you know, those are just some of those words you have to know. You know, just by memorizing or learning. You know, there's a couple of those where you just have to know it. But if you're not sure, you can guess an A and you'll mostly be right. So an example is apadana. Apadana. There's an A right there for that. At the end especially, see the schwa. Some words with AH, such as numna. Put it down here. N-U-M, N-A-H. Also Purda. Purda is spelled two ways, P-U-R-D-A-H and P-A-R-D-A-H. But anyways, the A-H at the end is the sound, okay? And like I said, the other words you kind of have to know. An example I'll put up here is Nuzzer, N-U-Z-Z-E-R. You see the U there for the schwa? Actually, this word is anglicized. It used to be spelled N-A-Z-R. It comes from Arabic. Okay, so it came to Hindi from Arabic. So of course the rule stayed, the A stayed, but when it was anglicized, it got changed to a U. Also, it got an extra Z, and also an E was thrown in there. So, this looks more like an English word than this does. It looks like the word buzzer. So if you can connect possibly that it was anglicized maybe, then you know this is going to be N-U-Z-Z-E-R. And it's not going to be that typical old Arabic / Hindi spelling. So yeah, this is one of those examples where you know the rule applies, but it has been changed for anglicization. Anglicization, sorry. So yeah, this actually covers all the vowels of Hindi and Sanskrit. I hope that wasn't too bad. Mostly each sound is going to be spelled, the way they sound. Some of these rules closely mirror Japanese, so all these Asian languages are very, very close in terms of spelling vowels. So yeah, feel free to look over this again, look up those words, these example words, just to know what their origin is and what they mean to help you connect that. And in the next video, we will take a look at the consonant rules of Sanskrit and Hindi, which have something unique. I remember mentioning in the previous video the abundance of H's we saw as consonants, so we'll definitely talk about that in the next video. See you then. Thanks.